Well, hello and welcome to the Bumper to Bumper podcast. I am Dave Riccio here along with John Riggle, and together we are helping you with your car. John, one of the things that comes up on a regular basis is car shakes.
Yeah.
And people are asking, what's causing my car to shake? And I think there's probably five biggies that we could go with.
Okay.
You're in the Bay every day. Give me one.
Shoot, the vibration at idle's the biggie that I get because we're in a transmission shop.
Right.
We really pay attention to that, right? So we get these cars in that idle that have a vibration at idle. When you put them in gear and stuff, you'll feel the whole car kind of shake through the steering wheel, through your feet, through the seat.
Yeah, people think that that's transmission related because as soon as you put it into gear, the vibration starts.
Yeah, yeah.
In most cases, is that the transmission?
Not usually. It's usually the engine mounts.
Engine mounts. So engine mounts would be a biggie. So that would be the number one. What's causing my car to shake? We're going to give you five, or the five most common. So number one is engine mounts.
Yep.
How would you've got, essentially your engine and transmission are supported by rubber mounts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that they're designed to keep the vibration out of the passenger compartment. Because engines and transmissions, even if they're working healthy, they're still going to vibrate.
Sure.
So we mount them on rubber, and that rubber is going to collapse and compress over time, and then sometimes it might even break.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, quite often does it break.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different symptom than what we're talking about here, but so they're going to settle in, and then you got it in the bay. How would you prove out that vibration is motor mount related?
Usually what we do is put a jack under the engine or the transmission. And we'll just take a little bit of weight off the car or off of the engine. We'll lift it slightly, quarter inch, half inch or something like that. And we'll have somebody sit in the car. And you can tell the difference. When you jack it up, vibration will go away. Undo the jack, it'll drop back down. Vibration comes back. It's a pretty good call on them.
Pretty good call. Yeah. So block of wood on the floor jack.
Yeah.
Roll it up under the engine oil pan and crank it up just a little bit.
Yeah, and you got to be real careful. A lot of the new cars have plastic oil pans and stuff like that, so that test doesn't work on some of those. So you got to be real careful doing this. The other thing you do is take a look at them. A lot of times you'll see where the mounts will have a limit stop. Okay, they'll have a little rubber spacer that will come down and sit on part of the bracket. And if you see that grounded down on that bracket, then you know that mount has collapsed. There's ways to see some of them, not all of them.
Well, I'd like to say that engine mounts have a bell curve of failure. I mean, there's some exceptions to this, but somewhere between 80,000 miles and 120,000 miles, right in there is where they're starting to get tired out and starting to break, that type of thing. So if you get a call from the auto shop and they say, hey, you need engine mounts, and you're in that window, it may not be a bad thing. And if you're going to get engine mounts, you got to insist they are factory.
Oh, yeah.
Not something that's supposedly factory. I mean, they better have a GM emblem on them or a Ford emblem or a Honda.
There's too many of the late model mounts that are actually silicone filled. So they're not just a big chunk of rubber. It actually has a cavity inside. It's silicone. Heck, we have computer-controlled ones that actually move the silicone through a passage with a solenoid on the side.
Yes, they're a lot more complicated than they used to be.
Yeah, so they stiffen them up going down the road. They make them a little softer at idle to try to get rid of some of these harmonics and vibrations. So they can get pretty complicated. They're expensive in a lot of situations.
Yep.
So you want to be right about that when you make that call. You also have to consider that they're all connected together, right? So when one fails, if one tears and the engine is moving around now it just put a whole bunch of stress on those other mounts.
Generally, most front-wheel drive cars are going to have 4 or 5 mounts. Some only have 3.
Yeah.
And then traditional like rear-wheel drive longitudinal engine placement, there's generally a left, a right, and a transmission mount. So 3, pretty common. But it's like buying tires. You could buy one at a time if you really want to, but get a set of 4.
Yeah,
it's probably a lot better. So the way I would look at it. So you want factory mounts. This is how they're diagnosed. The other way that they're diagnosed as broken is if you put your foot on the brake and you put the car in gear and you power brake it a little bit.
Yeah, you get a big clunk out of it.
Get a big clunk out of it. So you'll feel the engine come up and then come back down as it settles in. So engine mounts. The next one that I think of, so your car's at idle and it's shaking. And the mounts aren't bad.
Yeah.
What's the next possibility?
Next one's tires. Tires are real big on the list.
Okay, yeah. So tires, and I started as a young kid changing tires, at age 16. And tires, I see them cause vibration in two ways. One is if I'm rolling around neighborhood speeds and I got a wobble to it.
Yeah, yeah. Or you get the one that takes a steering wheel, and the steering wheel goes like
wiggles
this.
a little bit.
Yeah, in the lot, you can feel them in the lot at real low speeds. You'll get just this thing will kind of do one of these, and then you got a big lump in the tire somewhere. Got
big
a
lump. It's got a bubble in it. Okay, so that's a separated tire, and then the other way you feel it is you're going 65 miles an hour, and then you get a shake.
Yeah.
One way that I identify that with a tire that's out of balance, you can drive through it. In other words, it's 60 miles an hour, it doesn't vibrate. And at 70 miles an hour, it doesn't vibrate, but at 65, it's vibrating.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's going to point me in the direction of tire vibration.
Yeah, I also throw the car into neutral. I'll take them up that kind of speed, and I throw it in neutral. That eliminates load on the drive line and stuff like that. So if it's still there, now I'm thinking, it's probably a tire balance type issue as opposed to a driveline issue.
It's funny. My first day on the job here, I just bought the business and going out with Leon, and we're test driving a car for a vibration. And Leon was good at vibrations.
Mm-hmm.
And we're driving down the 101, and we were probably going 75, 80 miles an hour, and he shuts the car off.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I looked at him like, are you crazy? But it was a test. He wanted to eliminate the engine from a possible ability of the vibration. He wanted to feel the rest of it, drive shaft and that kind of stuff. So,
sure.
Okay, so tires, but back to that sitting and idle vibration. We talked about the mounts, but also what comes up is misfires.
Yeah.
I think misfires come up at different speeds, but specifically idle is pretty common.
Yeah. We usually get misfires at an idle. Usually people have a complaint. Every once in a while you'll feel it'll kind of jerk or hit. Usually when I get that occasional kind of a jerk out of it while you're sitting at idle, a lot of times that's actually spark plugs. But we also have the other one where you start to accelerate and go down the road, and the car jerks as you put it under load. And a lot of people confuse that with the transmission problem.
Oh, yeah.
They think the transmission is slipping because you get this momentary lack of power, and people just think that that's what it is. And we have to be careful with that, because when we have the torque converter failures that come on and off, they come on and off about the same frequency that we have misfires occur. So we always have to be careful when we're diagnosing that or looking at that aspect of it.
Well, I'm thinking of years past, how many times we got, I'm going to think of a big offender, Ford F-150s, and this is back in the day. And problems change over the years, what's common and what we're seeing. But I would get them from cars referred from general repair shops who referred over and say, we've got a torque converter chatter.
Yep.
And I take it out and I drive it. I'm like, it's not the torque converter chattering, it's misfiring. But what happens is when you get up on at a cruising speed, what happens is the computer's going to lean out all the fuel, lean out the mixture to make it fuel efficient. And then if you tip into the throttle just a little bit, maybe to speed up a little bit, you're going to get it like a stutter.
Yeah.
And so people can identify. So that could be torque converter. It could also be engine misfire.
And a lot of times on the late models, there's a giveaway on that, and that's the flashing check engine light.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if the check engine light's flashing,
it's a misfire.
It's a misfire, but we have to be careful with that, because I've seen bad torque converters fool the misfire monitor.
Oh, yeah.
So we got to be careful. We got to be careful with that. If they're real bad, they can jerk the car down the road enough that it confuses the misfire monitor. And misfire monitor interprets that as a misfire when it's actually not a misfire. So we got to be careful with that. But
okay.
Yeah.
So we got engine mounts can cause vibrations. We've got misfires can cause vibrations. Tires can cause vibrations. The other one I think about is you get off the freeway going 75 miles an hour. You come down the off ramp, and you feel it in your foot.
Yeah.
So what
when
is
you're
that?
when you're stepping on the brakes, that's where we've got a brake issue that's causing a vibration through the car. And typically, you identify that as it only happens when you slow down or when you've got your foot on the brake pedal. But you may get a shake through the whole car. Mm-hmm. Sometimes coming down, you'll get a shimmy when you start to brake. And that's one of the ways that we know we've either got a rotor thickness variation problem or a rotor warpage or out of round brake drum or something like that that we want to go looking for.
Now, how would you identify between a front brake pulsation and a rear brake pulsation?
Well, that can be tough, okay? But a couple of things that we look at, that shimmy that I talked about. Generally, if it's in the rear, it won't cause the shimmy in the steering wheel, okay? We'll get a pulsation, or we may have a kickback in the pedal. You may feel the pedal pulsate. So if I feel that shimmy, now I'm thinking it's more in the front. The other thing we could do, and we can't do it on all of them anymore, but on the older ones, we used to be able to pull the emergency brake on. Okay, so drum brakes, you could just apply the emergency brake a little bit, and if you got a big shudder out of it, that's coming from the rear drums.
Sure.
A little harder on the newer ones because they don't use separate e-brakes for those, so it doesn't really count. And some of them are just built into the caliper, so it's a little bit harder to pick it out. So it takes a sense of feel to pick it out and find out.
Seat of the pants feel, and let's bring that up real quick. Seat of the pants feel, that's what we develop over the years. And some technicians just don't have it. Go take a car around the block and come back. I don't know what's going on. I go drive it. And I'm like, left front strut is blown. Kind of thing. So that's seat of the pants feel is a big deal. And we develop a sensation memory, for what things feel like because we drive. I mean, I literally drive 30 cars a week.
Yeah.
You're driving 30 cars a week. You're getting a real good idea, of what things feel like, especially noises too. Also, noises get filed away in our brain. But okay, so brake pulsations, and then I think we got brake pulsations. We've got engine mounts. We've talked about tires, and then the last one is axles.
Drive axles,
Right. Drive axles and
drive shafts.
Drive shafts.
Sure.
So drive axles being on a front-wheel drive car, those are going to be showing up when you accelerate. That's when you're going to feel the vibration.
Yeah. Under an acceleration, you'll get a shake out of the front of the car. A lot of times, I identify them by turning the steering wheel slightly while I accelerate. And sometimes I can pick out which axle it is that's doing it. It'll be worse one direction than the other direction. So that's always a tip-off that, this is probably a drive axle binding up for one reason or another. Drive shafts where we have a longitudinal setup where the engine, rear-wheel drive or something like that.
Yeah.
Those are, usually I pick those out under a load, 45, 50 miles an hour. You start to lean into it and you start to get a vibration out of it.
Sure.
It goes away when you back off the gas.
Right.
So that's the one we look at.
So vibrations from drive shafts. Now, as far as the drive axles, I think there's some pretty good offenders. What I say, different vehicles have different problems. But I had a Honda Element once upon a time. I know that my Honda Element went through axles. I mean, by 40, 50,000 miles, they were already vibrating.
Yeah.
And the other one I see is like Honda CRVs. That's another big, I would say, offender.
Yeah.
I don't know why those more than any other car. Maybe it's the extremes they take it to.
I don't know. I don't know if we just see more of them or, I will say this, though. One of the biggest offenders that I see is wrong axles. We get lots of cars in for vibrations that, the people don't put two and two together. They had axles put in it a year ago, and the vibration started right after that, but they really didn't quite put it together. So I see a lot of those with the aftermarket axles that are just wrong for the application. Too long, have the wrong joints in them, no dampers on the axles, all that kind of stuff.
We spent a lot of time fixing prior repair work. You didn't realize how much time we spend fixing prior repair work.
Yeah.
And people don't identify it. They don't put two and two together, like you said.
Yeah.
And axles is a huge one. I don't know how many times we get axle seals that are leaking with a bad bushing in the transmission, where the axle goes into the transmission because somewhere along the line, somebody went ahead and replaced the axle, and they used an aftermarket. Maybe it was a strange brand like a Ling Long or something like that. And it was a new axle. But it wasn't the same. So, and I see this more and more. Technicians really not comparing parts before they put them on the car in a half an inch of length or an inch of length difference.
Well, that's always an issue because I've seen plenty of situations where I get a part and I open up the box and there's a sticker in there that says this part doesn't look like the part on your car, but it's designed to work for this application. Well, what you don't know is that actually the right part number? Did
Right.
somebody look up the right part? Did they get you the right box or whatever? So I always hate seeing that sticker. Yeah, this part doesn't look. If those parts don't look identical,
Don't use it.
I'm questioning it right off the bat. I'm like, oh shoot, is this a legitimate revision to what was going on, or is this a mistake somewhere? We get a lot of trouble with that.
Yeah, we sure do. So back to our engine mounts, factory engine mounts. And when it comes to axles, I'm going to push factory axles every time. Sometimes they are cost prohibitive, where they want a fortune for them, and it depends on where you are in the life cycle of the car. But if you are going to go with an aftermarket axle, make sure it's a good brand.
Yeah.
I mean, aftermarket is kind of a generic term, but there's good aftermarket and there's some really crappy aftermarket.
Yeah. You have to really be able to know who your supplier is and what those parts actually are coming out of the box and stuff.
All right. So that's 5 good reasons why your car may be vibrating. So thanks for joining us on the Bumper to Bumper podcast. We'll see you next time. Well, hello, I'm Dave Riccio, your host of the Bumper to Bumper podcast. And I would like to thank you for tuning in. If you want one of your car questions to be answered on our podcast, tap the link in the description for a chance to have your question featured. And while you are there, we would love for you to like and subscribe to see more Bumper to Bumper podcasts in the future.